Good morning, guys. So I'm going to talk about my client overview analysis. For this presentation, I chose to do a client overview just because I've been working with a lot of clients and I thought it would be pretty cool to present what I've been working on basically as a case manager here at my practicum, which is the Learning Community Center of South Omaha. So as we look at my client description, while also being confidential, she's a 29-year-old female, Hispanic, Latino. Her preferred language is Spanish, so every time I communicate with her, I am speaking in Spanish. She's married with four children. She's currently unemployed. She does have a vehicle that she drives to the center too. And yeah, she's taking ESL courses at the Learning Community Center of South Omaha. She's been with us for a year so far. She is also a One World patient. And there at One World, they offer a sliding fee scale. It's a great way for those who are uninsured or those who lack funds to pay for certain services can receive the medical attention they need. She is a recent immigrant of Mexico, her and her family. She is a practicing Catholic, and I'll kind of talk about that once we get into strengths and limitations. Recently, she did move into a new house. She used to live in a certain area of Omaha, but then she moved to a new area of Omaha. So, yeah, that's the basic rundown of my client here. So, as we look at the presenting needs, most of the referrals I get are through the educational navigators. The educational navigators are people assigned to individuals taking classes to do home visits and see how they're learning the parenting courses and how that child and parent interaction is. And usually, a client will bring up something that is disturbing them or hindering them from attending classes, making the style they live at home more uncomfortable. And so that is usually when they notify the social assistant navigator, which is me, another student, and a permanent employer there that a certain client does have social assistant needs. And here, as we see, most of the needs for my clients are pretty typical case management referrals. So let's start with the first one. It was a Cox Connect to Complete application. That application, you need certain documentation from the school that they are enrolled in the free reduced lunch program, which is very, believe it or not, very difficult to obtain. It usually takes a month from OPS schools. They have to get it from the central office. But yeah, we had a bit trouble communicating with Cox. As you know, a lot of these companies have automated calls, and it just makes it a bit difficult to work with a client once we're running through this application, and some of these participants are not used to using those phones with those robot operators, and then navigating the website. And Cox has several different financial assistance programs, so it's like comparing and contrasting which application works for our participant. But yeah, that's the first one. The second one is the Home Fund, which is a Metropolitan Utilities Assistance. This application is made similar to the other need, which is LIHEAP, which is a Nebraska Energy Assistance, and that's for the OPPD bill. These applications are made through the state of Nebraska, so usually you can do it through a website. You can do it in person. But as I've noticed working with clients, it's better to do this over the phone. And the reason for that is because once you make a website, you have to make an account, you have to put your email address, the participant has to put a password, they have to remember that password. Anytime you want to access this information, you're going to need the participant to input their password and email address, and it just makes it a bit more messy. So I have been doing these applications through phone calls. So yeah, and then the fourth one here is Omaha Solid Waste Management. Our participant only had one trash bin, and she was looking to have a recycling bin for her new home. So we just had to make an application to receive another bin, and I've been doing a lot of these for Christmas assistance, especially in the first weeks of November. They get to choose between different adoptive family programs, and this participant wanted to do the Salvation Army Angel Tree program, which offers gifts and assistance during Christmas. So as we look at the assessment of this participant, we're kind of looking at what the needs are for this client and how we can connect them with community resources and government resources. I did do the self-sufficiency matrix, which is an intake tool our program uses to indicate what kind of needs the client has. It goes through education, employment, medical, legal, community needs, and how safe they are in the home. So yeah, so as we look at the strengths, this participant has access to different services around the community, including food banks, food pantries, uh, medical services, the learning community, and different services like including heart ministry. She's gone to heart ministry before. Um, just different services. She's familiar with some services in the community, so I believe that's a strength. The church is a huge supporter for her. Overall, it empowers her throughout her typical lifestyle. She has a commitment to family. She's very family orientated. She gets strength from her family, I would say. Education. She says that learning English is something that is empowering her to do more for her children and to communicate with her children. She believes that education will be important as her kids kind of go into the public school system. She'll be able to know what kids are studying and how to help them through the later years of high school and middle school. I would say the educational navigator and the staff at LCC are an immense strength for her. They provide her through learning about what she's doing in the classroom, but also connecting her with people like us for additional resources. Some limitations. This is almost all my clients with language barriers. Some services are not offered in Spanish. And so her coming into this new country, Spanish is her preferred language, so she obviously has some language barriers with accessing different services. Her immigrant legal status prevents her from accessing services as well. And she has needed initial assistance through us accessing those services initially, which is understandable as you might not be comfortable with these new services. The community resources I listed for the needs that she had are One World Community Health Centers, Salvation Army, and the state assistant programs I listed. So as we're looking at goals for this client, these are very functional goals, like very statute goals, I would say. So it's like applying to assistance and utilities and applying for Christmas assistance. Those are short term goals, I would say. Access to quality internet service, again, another short term goal. Some long term goals, I would say engaging with the participant to strengthen confidence in reaching these services. So we do want the client to be able to reach these services on their own. Um, Again, building rapport with the social assistant navigator, which is me. So I want to make sure they feel comfortable talking to us and reaching out for these services. As well, we want to create a plan on how can we prevent, how can we strengthen our support system so that we don't have to make these applications. Obviously, there are times when it is obviously needed, but what are some ways we can strengthen the overall family system? So progress. I've been working her for with her for a while. She has gotten. We've completed the internet application, and she does have internet in her home through Cox Connect Complete. We're still waiting to hear back on the assistance for utilities that we did together. I helped her sign up. We went to the Salvation Army at the Kroc Center to sign up for Christmas assistance. We did an application for the waste management so she can get a trash and recycling bin for her new house. And we're still working on that self sufficiency plan and helping her become more confident in the family system. And yeah, here is my genogram. So very typical. Here's the participant's spouse. I don't have his age, um, but here are all her children. A line is missing on the right, but it is her kid. So yeah, those are kids. So that's the basis of my client overview. And here are some discussion questions. So, how do we best case manage a participant with many needs? Typically, having these clients with multiple applications, multiple needs. How do we learn to prioritize certain needs? That's been a big question of mine as I've started practicum. And my second discussion question, what are some ways we can empower clients on reaching agencies on their own? So we do want to make sure these clients do feel confident and have that self-empowerment to reach these agencies on their own. It is noted that some agencies don't have people who speak Spanish, so that is a barrier. But how do we best empower these clients to reach agencies on their own? And that is it. Thank you guys.